buying real estate is a dream that every single one of us has. And considering that it is the biggest investment the average person will ever make, it's crucial to have the right information to make that dream a reality. On today's show, I got the pleasure to sit down with one of the best realtors in Canada, Andrew Perrie. So hopefully you got some questions ready because the show starts now.
This is the Nico Lagan Show. Warning. This show contains explicit content. Listener discretion is advised. Real, raw, and shooting you straight. This is the Nico Lagan Show. And now your host, Nico.
This episode is brought to you by the Alpha Creator Blueprint. Are you a masculine man ready to level up your social media game? If so, join the Alpha Creator Blueprint school community and learn the strategies I use to grow my social to more than 130,000 followers and millions of monthly views. Don't miss out. Make sure to visit tacblueprint.com and book your spot now. Andrew Perrie, what's going on, brother?
Oh, not too much, my man. That intro was fire. Literally,
Literally, it was fire. So
yeah.
you're not just one of the best realtors in Canada, but you're also the host of the Fine Line podcast, which I absolutely love your content. By the way, it's interesting because it's one of my clients that quoted you, Remy. Remy, I'm talking about you, brother.
Yep.
I always ask my customers, what is somebody you like? What's somebody that inspires you? What's somebody that you like their content? And he mentioned you. I started following you to see the type of stuff you produce, and Pau, you followed me back, and here we are today. And I
That's
got to
right.
say, as a full-time content creator, your content's great, bro. Like you really
Thanks.
have it. You got some good people editing your content because I doubt that it's you. But if it is you, goddamn.
Well, it's the only thing I do not do on my social is the editing. I do everything else. I do all my own DMs, my comments, my decisions. It's all me.
It's time consuming, eh?
It is, yeah, it is. But you know what? I like it better personally
Yep.
because I always know AI is amazing. It's come so far, but at the same time, it's like no matter how good it is, or no matter even if it's a real person, when it's not you, we really do.
And you know what? It's interesting you say that because there's a lot of AI softwares out there that can help you with that, and they still don't do a great job. Like,
That's right. I mean, it's good for top level stuff,
yep.
top of the funnel and all that, and especially if you've got a course or whatever. But for my stuff is more It's more, high quality rate of return over quantity,
Yep.
so it's worth it for me to invest that time.
100% can't agree with you more. Plus, social media is the greatest marketing tool ever created. If
Sure.
you know how to use it, there's nothing like it because you don't need to spend a lot of money. I
That's right.
generate millions of views on every single one of them. And you know what? Organic. I do not spend any ads. I don't do anything. I understand algorithms. I look at the numbers and numbers never lie.
That's right. That's one of the things, that I love about math.
Yeah, no matter how you feel about it, it don't matter because numbers are
Right.
always right.
That's right.
So tell me, man, why a realtor? Why do you want to help people out there get the best house that they can get?
Well, you know what? It starts with the 5 pillars, right? So you've got your doctor who takes care of your inner health, right? You've got your personal trainer, takes care of your physical health and how you look. Then you got your financial advisor who helps you with your mutual funds, your insurance, your whole life. And then you got your lawyer who takes care of you from a legal standpoint. And then, that fifth one that, even realtors really don't appreciate fully is real estate. There's always one conversation about real estate at every get together, every passing by, and it's one of those things where I just felt super passionate about being that fifth pillar for, my all my clients so that they have the ability to just rely on me for that. Whereas majority of the industry is perceived as just like, hey, okay, somebody's inquired about a property and you just show up and you show them the house and that's all you do is you open doors. Whereas we have the ability to really shape our clients' lives, right? So from a positive standpoint or a negative, one bad deal can make or break somebody's life savings. So that's why I take it very, very seriously. And that's why I decided to stick in this industry, even when we're being kicked left, right, and center.
So why is it that every real estate agent out there drives a Beamer? Is it like your trademark or something? What's going on with that?
I don't drive a Beamer, I drive a Mercedes.
That's
You
good.
Well, so here the thing is that there's the perception of the industry is that if you don't drive that nice car or dress well, you have a perception of not being able to do as many deals as the public
Mm.
would prefer you to do so that they would like to hire you. Right. So that's the reason why people put up this facade and I can't shit on them because that's what I did in my first 2 years is I had to fake it till you make it. I had to blow the smoke. Looking back on it now, it was a little bit easier for me to do that. But, you can't get away with that nowadays. You actually have to be a professional, which thankfully, I didn't let that get to my head. And, I almost did, but, through faith and, being that actual alpha male is where I had to check my ego at the door and be like, look, I don't need the smoke. I don't need the fake it till you make it. I have to focus on what actually matters, and that's sales. And nobody can fake that, right?
Not until they get caught. You always get caught eventually because authenticity is everything and people can smell it a mile away, right?
Whoa, 100%. Absolutely.
So it's interesting because I got a buddy of mine, Remy, the guy that introduced me to your content. He doesn't drive. I've known him for 20 years. We met through martial arts years and years ago, and he doesn't drive that nice of a car. But you know what he always says is, and like I don't spend my money on cars. I spend it on buying properties. So
Right.
yes, you have most real estate agent that drive a really nice car. I don't because this is not where my money is. I will tell you which investment to make because guess what? I own properties myself. I'm
Which
not
one?
putting all my money in cars. Oh, he's a smart guy. Very, very smart guy. Big fan of
Oh,
his.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
But hold on. I didn't think we'd speak about this today, but man, I always, always will ask faith. What do you mean by that? Because you brought up faith. I can't let that one slide. I need to ask. What does that mean? What's faith to you?
Well, you know what? I just believe it started as, a belief in just something of a higher presence that's guiding you to do, good things for people, and to just be a better person altogether. And really that's kind of how it began. And then, I reverted back to the only religion that I had ever really known, which was Christianity. And then, just understanding that why Jesus died for us and what we need to do with that is what's fueled me to be a better person overall.
You think it's important for people out there because personally, I think it's lacking in today's society, and it explains the state of affair in which we find ourselves to have virtues that are instilled in us by something that's greater than ourselves, not thinking that you and I are God, because I'm not a God. You're not a God either. Sorry to disappoint you. But having virtues that are instilled by something greater than ourselves used to be our barometer, if you will, of social conduct. Now, not so much, is it?
So here's the way I look at it, especially for people, because I was never, I was righteous and not righteous, and I definitely um need to consistently be repenting, that's for sure. But I was never an atheist. Right? And so here's the thing. What's the Number 1, what's the worst that could happen? You believe in nothing, you die and nothing happens, right? Or you believe in something and you die and something happens. Right? So either way, wouldn't you at least want to put some faith into something that something's going to happen? Um because at the end of the day, most of those people they look at the religion the wrong way. At the very least, just consider it the biggest self-help book ever created of all time, and just start there. And that's where I started. It's like when I'm starting to read it, you know, if you're one of those types of people, maybe don't start with the Old Testament. I mean, I chose to. I chose to because I wanted to see how it all worked out, and I was just like, "What? What? What is this?" There's a lot of craziness happening here, and then you get to the New Testament and you realize that it's just literally one big self-help book.
And history has a tendency to repeat itself when you look at the Old Testament and you're like, "Oh, snap, that sounds familiar."
Yes, that's right. Oh, yeah.
And we're fucking stupid because we still haven't learned. It's it's right there, 3,000 years old, we still can't figure it out, and it's right there, and we see exactly what happens
That's
when
right.
we exactly what we're doing today.
Absolutely.
You know, for the longest time, though, real estate was a good thing. Like, it was an investment, probably the best investment you can make, and having an investment house here in Canada still, I I can tell you that the market over the past year or so, especially in rentals, and especially like if you're renting outside of the city, like Airbnb, nice place like a cottage, it's not doing very well under our current government. So, do you still suggest people to buy houses as investment or more as a way to have a place to live, if you will, not to
Right.
be paying rent to somebody else instead?
So the biggest thing, in Canadian real estate is that you're right. It's always changing. So
Mhm.
every few years, and obviously we have economic factors, other external factors, but in my opinion, a big reason is that we've got to consistently renew our mortgages. Every 5 years, right? So every 5 years, Canadian or less, right? One, two, three, four, five, but max five. Every Canadian is forced to make a decision. Do I want to renew or do I want to try something else? Right. So the
Mhm.
housing market is unstable for one of those reasons that is like that could be one of the reasons. But because if you look at the states is such a more stable real estate market. So when things are stable, it's easier to make an educated decision or guess on what you think a potential investment is going to play out like. Where in Canada, you just have to be consistently changing your goals. That's it. Maybe 10 years ago, it was cash flow was the most important. If it doesn't cash flow, I don't want it. Well, now there's not a lot of places in Ontario for sure that you can purchase a property and have cash flow,
Mhm.
right? Unless you're putting 50% down, that's a little bit different, but it all just depends on what your actual goals are. So, for most of our investors, our our, uh, our goals are to improve a property, so there's still tons of opportunity in Ontario for that. But if you're looking at cap rates, cash flow, people are bragging that, "Hey, look at this new listing, 3% cap rate." They're like, "Wow, that's not really that good." And so whereas, people in Toronto have been used to 0% cap rates for decades. But where I'm going with this is that there's still tons of opportunities. You just have to adjust your goal. So in my thinking, I've always done it this way. The properties that I buy in Ontario, I always, I have to, count in for property management because I never work on my properties myself. I always have a property management company. So I've got to keep that in mind. But I do it so okay, I just consider it as a little bit of a piggy bank. I keep my
Mhm.
money safe in real estate. Now, the last 2 years, if all of your money is in real estate, okay, what am I doing? Is
Oh,
blue?
this is so pretty. You have bubbles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I go like this. My camera does a thumbs up thing too. But where I'm going with this is that, I know, right? Is that even if it doesn't cash flow, the property opportunities to invest or at least keep your money from somewhat being sheltered, right? I don't like to keep my money in the bank. And I, get actually a little nervous with that. So I want to keep my money in properties. Yes, okay, the market does fluctuate over the last 2 years. It went down. However, look what's going on. All this buyer pent up energy, those prices are going to be coming back next year. Where do they go in the next 2 to 5 years? I don't really know, but that's when you can make a decision. Maybe you pull out and you start investing in the US, and that's what we're gonna be doing too.
You know, it's interesting you say that because I don't know if those regulations have been stopped yet or if regulations have been put in place in order to prevent it. But I know in Montreal, a lot of the real estate is owned by Chinese people. They literally buy it in Vancouver's another. another place that happened. They don't even set foot in Canada, but yet they could buy property from overseas,
That's right.
and they don't even care. They buy condos left and right. They don't care if somebody lives there or not, because to them, they'll take 5-10% growth every year. So to them, it's just stack the money, just like you're saying, like a bank account,
That's
leave it there, and one day I'll sell it. I don't care if nobody's in it right now, nobody's destroying it. So
that's right.
I don't have to do repairs.
Well
I don't care. I'm just investing the money.
well, what people don't understand is that there's been a 5% year over year
Mhm.
growth or appreciation over the past 50 years. So that's a pretty solid investment. But what also people don't understand is that that 5% is not just on your initial investment of 20 grand for your down payment or your 50 grand. It's the compounding effect on the total value of the property, the total value that you've mortgaged, right? So now the bank is going to lend you $500,000 for a $550,000 home, and you've just made 5% on the $550,000, not on the initial $50,000. So that's a big piece that people don't understand, or if they do, maybe they don't. It's not enough. Maybe they don't understand it enough to fully take advantage of.
It's probably scary to people too, right?
Of course, it
Would you
is.
Would you suggest to somebody that has equity in their house, let's say they've been paying 10, 20 years, they have money in their house, they have a few hundred grand. Would you suggest to people to refinance their house, extract some of that money and buy something else with it?
You really have to look at the numbers because before 2, 3 years ago, I would have said, "Yep, absolutely." What you
Yeah.
need to do is you need to refinance, you need to put that into a rental. That rental cash flow is gonna help pay off that mortgage as well as your mortgage,
Mhm.
and then because we have this one program, and if anybody wants to learn more about it, just reach out, but it's called, One Property Away, and it's how we help our clients always get to one property away closer to retirement. And so some people can, depending on their equity, can retire after just the one property, which is great. And we see it all the time. But typically our clients, when they see that it's working, they actually want to do it again and again and again. But what we saw was people were overdoing it in COVID because the rates were low. And now property one, property two, property three, as opposed to having a 2% rate, they now have a 6% rate. Right. And so that happened to me as well, where although I'm fortunate that I don't really have to worry about it too much, but my mortgage was $3,500 a month. And I had a 2 year or 3 year term and I refied at 6.6.
Ooh.
So that was that's a double the increase. So $7,000 a month my mortgage is. So what I'm fine, but once you do property one, two, three, some people bought four, five, or more, and now you have you to double the amount of mortgage payments just on interest only on, multiple different properties. So you have to be very, very careful. Work with not only your realtor, but also your mortgage broker and make sure that you're consistent as long as they're good. So interview different people, please. And or if they're your lifetime people and you're happy with them, make sure that everybody's on board. Make sure your lawyers, your accountants, your mortgage brokers, and your realtors are all in communication and they're all making the best decisions for you. That's where realtors got a really bad name because people who either needed the money, they're part-time realtors, or really didn't know what the fuck they were doing, were telling their clients to refi, go buy that cottage, refi, go buy that cottage because Airbnb, you can rent it out. And then next year, oh, okay, the rates double. Next year, oh, Airbnb limits their bylaws in this town, that town, this town. So now you're like the people who bought their are all screwed because they basically took away the Airbnb rentals, especially for the waterfront properties. They're almost non-existent now. So
It's, Airbnb was great for a while, not so much anymore. And I know what I'm talking about considering that I have it. It's It's just you never know. You really, really never know. And correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm getting from you is diversify. Don't put all your money
yes,
in one basket, because you're
oh,
talking 5% over a year, but the 5%, as you said, is on the whole price, is the value of the house, not just your initial investment. So if you consider SP 500, for example, is 10% on average every 10 years, give or take, but that's on the money you have invested, which
ex-
is not the, let's say, the 550 grand, but the 50 grand that you've invested, right? So I see what you're saying. It's just, man, you gotta have the right people around you. This is what it comes down to, right?
That's right, and then, talk about diversifying now is get yourself into whatever works for you, of course, a whole life policy, and, for all the men out there, uh, y maybe we'll touch on this, maybe we won't, depends on how far you wanna go, in the next 20 minutes, but ever since, COVID, the amount of underlying conditions that have been brought up, cancer, etcetera, you better go and you better get your whole life insurance. If you don't have it, get it now because there's a likelihood, and I speak from experience. I got my whole life insurance last year, and last year they came, they did the blood work, everything was great, no problem. Or this is almost 2 years ago now. And then in September, I hired a private doctor, right? So the private doctor, I was feeling lethargic. I was like, okay, so do we need, maybe I can get some steroids. Maybe I can get some thyroid. Maybe I can get some hormones to, beef me up a little bit, man. Give me some more energy. Let's go. And diet as well. She focuses on everything. And so our initial blood work comes back and my platelets are about 650. 650. So that means I'm now at high risk for blood clot, stroke, right? And then so I'm really nervous. I'm freaking out. And then we go and do a bone marrow biopsy. Very painful procedure, by the way. I took it like a man, by the way, but I did have one little instant where she clipped me on one of my nerves and I kicked.
Ooh,
Yeah, but anyways, and because we're so young dealing with these problems, my bones are so strong, like a 15-minute procedure. She was railing on me for like 45 minutes, just trying to get whatever they do, they drill you and then they put in a needle to suck out, the bone marrow. And it turns out I have a rare form of blood cancer called JAK2. And so JAK2 is affects your platelets. So it doesn't affect your white or red blood cells, but it does affect your platelet. And so and this is, I mean, forget COVID for a second. If you're a guy or a girl
yeah.
for that matter, and you're not getting checked consistently, you better start doing it because had I went to go try to get whole life policy now, I wouldn't get it.
Mhm.
So I got it and I'm locked in now. And this is not only a great tax, I don't want to call it a tax shelter, but it's a good way to protect your money. But they also use the money to invest in things like blue chip, mutual funds, and a lot of different aspects. So it's already been a year, and my investment has gone up by 40 grand. Now, yes, okay, in real estate, you can double or triple that in the same amount of time if the market is still on an upswing. But I think, like I said, it's better to diversify and have things kind of spread out a little.
Couldn't agree with you more. Well said. And for the men out there, that's another thing I agree with you 100%. Last year, I'm 42. So last year, as a 41-year-old, I'm like, I'm going to try to make sure I get in the best shape of my life, which considering I used to fight, that's not an easy feat. So I had all the tests done and turns out that my testosterone was low. So I did end up trying TRT for a while. Love the effect, but don't like to inject myself with stuff. I'm so careful about what I put in my body that it bothered me. But I since then I restarted doing long fasts. Like right now, I'm on my first day of 3 to 5 day fast. I'm not sure how long I'm gonna go, but it's gonna go at least 3 days. It's my
Yeah,
fifth one this year, and I
yeah,
normally only eat 1 meal a day, and that I've been doing that forever. But it's interesting that I got retested about 6 months after. I started with low 500.
yeah,
And considering that I work out 5, 6 times a week, that's 33% higher. So working out as much as I do raises your testosterone by 33%, give or take. So I had the testosterone level of a fat fuck sitting in front of Netflix that eats garbage and never works out. That's
yeah,
basically was the equivalent.
right.
With TRT, that should have brought me, we were aiming, it was a low dose, aiming for about 900 to 1,000 to 1,100. After 4 days fast, I got tested, I was at 1,500. I almost tripled the amount, and I know that TRT played a role, but just on fasting alone, just on really, really good diet, I more than doubled my testosterone level,
That's
and
awesome.
this would have never happened if I never got those tests done. If I didn't, because I felt I'm like how do you know that you're low, right?
That's right.
Because it's over time. For all I know, my testosterone has been low my whole life, and
That's right.
I've just been training like a maniac, and it made it okay, but never great because I didn't know the difference.
That's right.
And it all started with that. So couldn't agree with you more. That is so fucking important for men to get tested. Stop being cocky. Stop saying that there's no problem because maybe there's not. Maybe there's no problem and you're in perfect health because outside my testosterone level, everything was bang on. Everything was good.
And
But
I also
man,
and I
life
also
and life changing
well,
experience,
that's
right?
right. And I also think that we're kind of at that age, 35 to 45, maybe 35 to 40, where you're realizing that you're not a kid anymore, but you're also like, "Hey, I'm not a old guy either," right? So you're
Yeah.
like, you don't even the doctor said, he was like, "We Andrew, we don't see this in people under 70."
Mhm.
Uh, so I'm like, "Okay, great." So, like, if I had just randomly got tested, I wouldn't have known because I most likely would have not gone to the doctor for anything like this, right? So, but now, I did everything, colonoscopy, uh,
You
brain.
like it? Did you like that? I'm just
I woke up midway and I'm like, "Hey, look, I got it all cleaned up for you." And then he's like, "Well, that's funny. Why are you awake?" So then he put more anesthesia back. But yeah, no, it's just you're at that age where you're like, "Well, I can't be deteriorating yet," but
mm.
you realize that you haven't been in school for 20 years, and you're like, "Oh yeah, maybe I am."
Yeah, the 90s was 10 years ago in my head, right?
That's right. Same.
If I hear the 90s, I'm like, "Oh, I remember this." Oh shit, that's 30 years ago. Fucking
Yeah,
Christ, what the hell's going on here?
I know it's insane, man.
Let me ask you this, because this was a nice segue that I did not expect. I absolutely love these conversations, but I want to go conspiracy theory on you for a second because I've been considered one before there was a name for it.
Yeah.
And I was reading an article the other day about BlackRock. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep. BlackRock.
And,
Yep.
and, and for the people that don't know, BlackRock is the or second biggest investment firm, management investment firm in the world. And that article was saying that right now, BlackRock, especially in the US, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do it in Canada too, is buying real estate, like just regular houses in order to, as you said, turn it into a piggy bank, if you will, because it's not just a normal, a house is not just it's a commodity, but it is a crucial commodity. People need a place to live.
Right.
Do you think that's real or not? Because people are saying that it's not true, but yet if I look at it from an investment perspective, I'm like, of course they're doing it. Like I don't need proof to know that if they're not doing it, they're fucking stupid.
Well,
But
there's a couple of things. As far as I know, um, that's absolutely true, but they're not the only people doing it. Everybody's. Zillow is doing it. I heard that in one town. I can't remember if it was BlackRock or Zillow. I can't remember, but they bought 30,000 homes.
Zillow, you mean the app in the US that's extremely popular? That's like I can jump in, see the price, like all the
Yeah.
prices. Okay,
Well, yeah, I think Zillow had to do it because of their cash offer program. I don't quote me on that. I really can't remember, but but honestly, I'd be doing the exact same thing, and I'm just being honest with you. If I had the funds, I would be buying as many single family homes, multifamily apartment buildings as much as I can. And BlackRock has actually walked away from a massive project. I think it was like 118 million or something like that. Is as a commercial building. And it's just like one of those things where commercial is just not really working out right now. So
mhm.
again, I don't blame them. That was walking away was much less of a loss than keeping it, apparently. But yes, so big companies are buying multiple properties all at once by the thousands, by the hundreds, and they're buying up other firms and they're just getting bigger and bigger. And again, I don't necessarily see a problem with that, and the reason why is because, to me, that's your free will to do whatever you can. Do I agree with people having such a monopoly that they have more control? Absolutely not, especially when the government gets involved, because the government's gonna see that, and then they're gonna tag along, right? And so that's one thing that I don't agree with, but as an investor myself, if I had the funds, I'd be buying as many properties as possible. However, I'm a little bit different where I actually work with my tenants to say, hey, what would this unit make, what would make this unit more comfortable for you? So, especially when I'm doing renovations, be like, hey, you know what? I really think that we would like a bright painting color scheme. I would prefer tiled flooring because, my kids are a little bit of a mess. We have a dog. So I work with our tenants in that regard. And so I look at myself as one of the bad guys because, I have people that are in an under market rent situation in a couple of my buildings. So yes, we're seeing that, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing yet, but I see the potential of it being bad based on a monopoly.
Because as this I didn't realize, but it would make sense. I wouldn't invest in commercial real estate either. I
Yeah.
wouldn't, because more and more you got guys like me that can run a business from a home, wherever home is. It doesn't even matter anymore. And if you're smart, why would you have an office? If you can't trust the people that works for you, that's where the issue is. Because an office, you might need some of your sales guys might need a place where they can meet customers to look professional, but at the end of the day, do businesses really need that big of an office like 20 years ago? No.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think for me, I'm a big culture guy. So
Okay.
I
Sure.
never want to have people not in the office. And I just, especially in our business, it's like, yeah, okay, we could do a lot of the training and coaching online, but it's what you don't say that you pick up on. Whereas you're doing something like this that's a little more virtual and they just kind of want to get through it, right? Where at the other with if everybody's in person, your willingness to maybe speak up a little bit more is higher.
That's true. There's a difference between culture and just working.
But
That I agree with.
yeah,
But there would you say it's harder now to have a good culture considering that everything offends everybody?
no, I actually feel that it's easier
Really?
because yeah, because you attract your tribe, man. You attract
Ah, good point. So
well,
no
so the thing
no
is,
fucking
it's like
excuses.
people see me and and I'll be honest, on our team, we actually have a variety of different people, but we almost butted heads today talking about the bill, what C-118, because we or C-18, whatever it is, I don't know, whatever. Because we have a newspaper that shut down
Mhm.
and we actually pulled our advertising dollars from it because if they're only digital, which is okay, the only reason why I did it was because people were sharing it in Facebook groups. So now that you're not allowed to share that content, we pulled our money out of it because there's really no point going to going to an extra website, right? So we talked about that, and yes, I understand the idea was to get Canadian content creators paid. I understand that, but fuck, you've hurt all those businesses way more than you're helping them. They Facebook, Instagram gave them a voice, and now you're taking it away from 'em. So we butted heads in the meeting, and then we had to quickly revert and be like, no politics, no politics, no politics. However, from a culture standpoint, I think people are raring to go again, man. They were hurt spiritually working from home. And now we're all back. People are excited again. And now that we've been doing it for a couple of years, we really know how to dial it in and just we have fun, we keep it clean, and we do things professionally and socially together.
You're bringing up a very interesting a very interesting opinion because I've been in the US for a while now. Now I'm back in Canada. There's a few things I need to deal with and we're going to apply for visas to stay in the US, but those laws that the government passed, do you
Well,
really believe that they're for content creators, or do you think that, and
no,
this is my opinion,
no. So I
where
listen
the
to Talk
government, especially
640. I
Trudeau,
listen to
did that
like
on
AM
purpose in order to be
news.
able to censor people? Because by saying to Meta, TikToks to say, "Hey guys, you guys are using our content or Canadian content in order to get views, get ad dollars off those views. We want to cut." He knew they would never pay them.
Of
He's not
course.
stupid. As much as I think people think Trudeau's stupid, he ain't fucking stupid. He knows exactly. At least the people around him know exactly what they're doing,
Of
and they
course.
did that, in my opinion, in order to be able to censor, to say, "Oh, well, you know what? Your content doesn't get out of Canada anymore."
Yeah. Like, I
That's
listen.
what you guys agreed that's what you guys were arguing on?
Yeah, yeah. See, the thing is like, there's there's those who are naturally skeptical, and
Mhm,
sometimes when you're too skeptical, I'm like, "Okay, just relax, guys. Like, it's really not that big of a deal." But when you're not skeptical is honestly when I get nervous. I'm more nervous about that guy than I am about the person who, wants to ask questions about everything. So, it's just an interesting concept that, and honestly, I'm tired, man. I'm tired. When Trump won back in 2016, just even talking about it was, just you had to fight just to you had to fight for yourself to just be understood
mhm.
by, because you're questioning things, right? And it's like now, like fucking almost 10 years later, we're still having the same conversations, and it's just annoying. And it's annoying now. And it's like I just want to move on, and I want to everybody to prosper. And the problem is like the division is just it's still there. And it's unbelievable to me that every generation has their thing and this is ours, but it's just when are we gonna, not blindly trust those that are in control of our biggest assets, which is our lives.
Couldn't agree with you more. Ask questions. There's no there's no stupid questions, just stupid people.
That's right. I learned that from South Park.
And if it was on South Park, it has to be true. It
That's right.
has to be true. But you're absolutely right, man. I'm more worried about people that don't question than people that question everything. Because I have a tendency to question everything in a way where I'll listen to people I agree with, I'll listen to people I don't agree with, and then I'll sit down and verify and reflect on both sides of the equation and say, okay, where do I sit on that issue? More often than not, I'm somewhere in the middle. And if you look at the bell curve, 65 to 70% of people sit somewhere in the middle when it comes to anything. But all we hear is the crap on each end, and people
Yeah.
are just too tired of talking about it, so they're like, "Fuck it, I'm done. I'm just gonna let it be."
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And you know what? It's like at least the people that we have on our squad, we can have those healthy discussions. And then at the end of it, be like, look, we are not getting anywhere. So, let's just agree to disagree and then we move on. And it's great. But you know what? It's just, to be honest, I like you said, that number is probably closer to 80% of people
Yep.
who are in the middle, because it's that, squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? It's that 5% jerk factor. It's the people who are allowed online that really are making up these far rights and far lefts that really have nothing to do with the general populace. So it's very, very interesting to see people pander to both sides, whether you're right or left, and it just doesn't make any sense to me.
And it's interesting because I'm neither left or right. I'm libertarian, if you will, somewhere in the middle. I'm let me do what I do. I'll let you do what you do and fuck off. I
Yeah,
don't really care. Don't get involved in other people's business. Take care of your country. Take care of the people with you, and then let as much as you're as long as what you're doing does not impact me, however I feel about it is irrelevant.
that's right. I do think we do have a duty to, stick up for people in need.
100%.
But when you're putting the needs of the very small minority over the needs of the vast majority, that's where I have a problem. And again, I don't want to lose support for that small minority, but when you have to adjust everybody else's lives around you, it's like the area, our Ontario Real Estate Association, they implemented, a life insurance, just like a lot of big organizations, right? Like the teachers union, the
Sure.
school union, they put together packages for wellness and insurance. And our packages, and again, I commend Tim Hudak and I commend the people on the AREA board who helped get this together, because it was a big feat. And I do think that people can utilize it in a positive way. But they've made it mandatory. So I'm like, I already have health insurance. Why do I need to make this? Why do I need to pay $700 a year extra so that other people could take advantage of it and not me not use it? So it's just that type of crap I hate. And it's like, look, if you were to ask me, hey, if you buy into this, it's going to lower the cost for the people in need. I'd be like, hey, let's do it. Great. Where do I sign? But when you say this is a mandatory thing that you have to do, is where now there's tens of thousands of Ontario realtors that if there was provided another option, another board, another way to trade in real estate, they would take it instantly.
Oh boy, that's it's interesting because I was just reading the Bible this morning, and that's exactly what Paul was saying. It's easier to convince somebody to do something in a way where you put it into perspective for them than press authority and say, you will do this because I'm responsible for this and I'm forcing you to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
Very interesting. Man, thanks for the conversation. I didn't think we'd talk about this, but love it. And tell the people that are going to be listening to this, where can they find you?
Yeah, honestly, Instagram is the best place at the Andrew Perry. I always answer my DMs and yeah, let's have a healthy conversation and really figure out um, you know, what we're doing here. That's the biggest question, right? And I think if everybody just treats everybody with a little bit more respect, we'll all, go a lot further in this life.
Amen, brother. Guys,
Amen.
if you like this show, you need to make sure to like it. You need to make sure to comment, to share, and to follow. Until next time.